Nathan Clark adjusted the strap of his messenger bag nervously as he stepped into the gleaming lobby of Hargrove Enterprises. The morning sunlight filtered through the glass walls, reflecting off polished marble floors and sleek chrome fixtures, casting a sense of power and perfection over the space. Nathan, 24 and fresh out of graduate school, had been interning here for only a few days, and the office already felt like a different world. A world of boardroom politics, hushed whispers, and commanding presence. A receptionist's voice over the intercom had summoned him. "Nathan Clark, the CEO, will see you in his office." His pulse quickened. Richard Hargrove's reputation preceded him. The CEO of one of the city's most influential firms, Richard was a man who commanded respect without raising his voice, whose very presence seemed to bend a room to his will. Nathan had read about him in magazines, seen him on LinkedIn and news profiles, and now he was being called to him. The thrill was tinged with anxiety. The elevator ride felt endless. Nathan rehearsed a polite greeting in his mind, imagining himself composed, confident, and professional. As the doors opened onto the executive floor, he saw the dark, imposing double doors marking the threshold to the CEO's office. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward. "Come in," a smooth, authoritative voice called. Nathan knocked lightly before entering. The office was exactly as he had imagined, modern, imposing, yet inviting. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city skyline, and a massive desk commanded the room. Richard Hargrove sat behind it, reviewing documents, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit. His salt-and-pepper hair was immaculately styled, and his piercing blue eyes lifted to meet Nathan's. "Nathan," he said, his voice calm, steady, and quietly commanding. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Of course, Mr. Hargrove," Nathan replied, trying to keep his voice even, though he felt a rush of nervous energy. Richard gestured to the chair across from him. "Please sit. I'd like to discuss something unconventional." Nathan raised an eyebrow, curiosity tinged with unease. "Unconventional?" Richard leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Yes. It's personal. Delicate. And I think you might be the person I can trust to handle it with discretion." Nathan sat, unsure how to respond. "I'll do my best, sir." Richard's gaze softened, but there was an intensity there that made Nathan swallow hard. "I'm married," he began slowly, "but my marriage, it's fractured. My husband has been unfaithful. I've tried to reconcile, but some things cannot be fixed. I need something else, someone discreet." Nathan's stomach clenched. This was far beyond office drama. "I've watched you in the office these past few days," Richard continued, his voice low, deliberate. "You are intelligent, observant, capable. I want to ask if you'd consider being with me. In secrecy, behind closed doors, away from the world and my husband's eyes. A connection that is ours alone." Nathan's heart raced. Desire, shock, and disbelief swirled together. "You mean an affair?" "Yes," Richard said simply. "I understand how audacious this sounds. I know the risks. But I am asking you, discreetly, honestly, and without coercion, to consider it. To explore what could exist between us, privately, carefully, and with trust." Nathan felt heat rise to his cheeks. This was a moral and professional line he had never imagined crossing. Yet Richard's presence, magnetic, commanding, yet quietly vulnerable, made the idea of saying no almost impossible. I need to think," Nathan said, trying to steady his voice. "Of course," Richard replied, reclining in his chair, regaining the calm, composed CEO persona. "Take your time. Consider your feelings, your boundaries, your desires. If you decide to proceed, everything will be handled with the utmost discretion and care. Are we clear?" Nathan nodded, his pulse still racing. "Yes, sir. Clear." Richard gave him a rare, approving smile. "Good. I'll await your decision." The rest of the day passed in a blur for Nathan. Every spreadsheet, email, and report seemed secondary to the swirling thoughts in his head. He couldn't focus, his mind replaying Richard's words, the subtle tension in his gaze, the quiet vulnerability behind the CEO's poised exterior. He had always been drawn to strong, confident men, and now he was being asked to step into something entirely forbidden. By evening, he found himself walking toward the office terrace, needing air, needing perspective. The city stretched endlessly below him, its lights twinkling like distant stars. Every street and building seemed to mirror the chaos inside his mind, thrill and fear, desire and hesitation. He replayed the conversation in his mind, analyzing every word. Richard hadn't just proposed an affair. He had offered trust, intimacy, and a connection steeped in secrecy. The very thought made Nathan's pulse quicken. Finally, he made his decision. He would explore this. Carefully, cautiously, yes, but he would explore. The following evening, Nathan entered the discreet restaurant Richard had chosen. Dim lighting, quiet corners, and soft music created an intimate atmosphere. Richard was already there, standing as polished and composed as ever, but with a softness in his expression that made Nathan's heart race. "Nathan," Richard said warmly, extending a hand. "I'm glad you came." "Me too," Nathan replied, shaking his hand, trying to steady the rapid thump of his heart. They were seated in a secluded corner, far from other diners. Their conversation started lightly, work, projects, the office, but soon the air between them thickened with tension. Every glance, every subtle smile carried meaning. Nathan felt drawn in, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. After dinner, Richard guided Nathan to a private area of the restaurant, a quiet space with no one else around. "Are you certain about this?" he asked softly, his eyes searching Nathan's. "I am," Nathan said firmly, though his pulse thundered in his chest. Richard stepped closer, and for a moment everything else fell away. The city, the office, the world outside ceased to exist. His hand brushed against Nathan's, light but deliberate. "Then let's begin." The first kiss was tentative, electric, a mix of yearning and restraint. Nathan felt a shiver run through him as he realized the intensity of their connection. Every touch, every whispered word was magnified by the thrill of secrecy. They pulled back slightly, foreheads resting together. "This is only the beginning," Richard murmured. "We navigate this carefully, but fully. Understand?" "I do," Nathan whispered. "And I want it. Every bit of it." Over the following weeks, their connection deepened. In the office, Nathan and Richard maintained strict professionalism, but stolen glances, subtle touches, and whispered exchanges charged their interactions with tension and anticipation. Every encounter outside the office, quiet dinners, private meetings, brief but intense moments, was layered with the thrill of secrecy and the growing intimacy between them. Nathan realized he was no longer just an intern. He was part of a dangerous, exhilarating world of desire, trust, and forbidden connection. And Richard was no longer just a CEO. He was a man of power and vulnerability, magnetic intensity and quiet tenderness, who had chosen Nathan to share in a secret that bound them in ways neither had anticipated. Theirs was a story of risk, passion, and discretion. Every meeting, every touch, every moment together was a delicate balance between desire and prudence. Nathan had stepped into a life where secrecy heightened every emotion, where intimacy and danger were intertwined, and where each moment with Richard made him feel more alive than he ever had before. One evening, as they parted after a stolen dinner, Richard placed a gentle hand on Nathan's shoulder. "Remember, trust and discretion are everything. But know this, what we share is rare, powerful, and ours alone. Nothing outside can touch it." Nathan nodded, his chest tight with longing and certainty. "I know. And I don't want it any other way." As Nathan walked back to his apartment, the city lights shimmered around him. He felt the intoxicating rush of desire, secrecy, and connection, an affair that was as dangerous as it was magnetic. And for the first time, he realized he had entered a world where rules, expectations, and caution mattered less than the undeniable, burning connection he now shared with Richard Hargrove. They were bound by secrecy, desire, and trust, a story unfolding behind closed doors, full of tension, passion, and the unspoken promise of more. Nathan smiled to himself. The world outside could wait. For in this clandestine connection, in this forbidden affair, he had discovered a depth of passion, danger, and intimacy that he never wanted to leave, and he wasn't going back.